Hey guys, back at it again. Well, finally, I've been doing more shorts than videos recently. Because the holidays took some time out off, obviously. So I'm here to talk some Stranger Things. Let me just say, as far as like Stranger Things go for me, because I I didn't grow up necessarily with Stranger Things. Like when it came out, it was maybe a year after, yeah, a year after I graduated, I believe. And I didn't watch this till much later. I finally ended up getting into it a couple of years ago, or maybe 2 years, something like that. And I watched the first two seasons, really enjoyed them. I actually like the second season more than most people do, it seems. But get to the third season, and it kind of stops me watching. There's a lot of stuff in the third season with the plot and some other things that just kind of turned me off, and I just like stopped watching it for a while. My friends kind of convinced me to get back into it before the new season. Finally decided like a week and a half before I'm going to binge the second half of season 3, season 4. I'm glad I did because I love season 4. There's so many great moments. With Eddie Munson's character, the character that was only there for a season, but the Master of Puppets stuff. I love the Max storyline. Eleven's my favorite character, so anything with her worked very well. So it got me back into really enjoying this series. And going into season 5, I was pretty excited, which surprised me because I'm not the biggest fan of season 3, which I know for most people, they either seems like they a lot of people enjoy it, but there are some that I think are more to my side of things. But yeah, anyways, so season 5. This isn't technically a non-spoiler. I am going to do a non-spoiler, or I'm sorry, I am going to do a spoiler at some point. I'm not quite there yet, but I am going to do a spoiler at some point with some friends actually that are also funny enough the ones that got me back into this. So we're going to do spoiler review of Stranger Things season 5, volume 1, or the first 4 episodes, or whatever you want to call it. But this is just kind of an overview for me. I wanted to get something out there. So going in, like I said, I was very excited, see what they would do. I didn't know if it was like, I actually didn't know how big of a time jump it was. I think I heard a couple of years, but I couldn't remember. I kind of stayed away from a lot of that stuff, mostly because I was watching up to this point. And so, with that being said, I was excited to see where they're going. Are people going to be moved out? Is this something that they have to come back and do? This next part, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but just to let you know, just so I can talk overview of it, they kind of get stuck within Hawkins because Hawkins gets, basically gets trapped within this area. They're quarantined. They're quarantined off is the word I'm looking for. They're quarantined off by the military who are basically trying to find Elle as well as deal with the Upside Down. That's all I'm going to say as far as spoiler stuff goes. There will be a spoiler review. But as far as like how did I feel, I'm not really going to go into positive and negatives yet. That's going to be more so for the spoilers. I'm just going to give my quick overview to get this out and just, just to hear what some others are thinking maybe in the comment sections. But I enjoy this season. I think the first episode does very good job of bringing you back to the characters, giving you some new team ups along the way, showing you where everybody's at, but also telling you that nothing has really changed. The goal is still the goal as far as Vecna goes, and that's not really a spoiler because I mean they pretty much hint that throughout, and he is considered the big bad. So a lot of that stuff hasn't changed, but there are some things within the characters that have changed, as well as like some of the relationships, and they continue. We get more of the Elle and Hopper relationship, which I really enjoy, is one of my favorite duos slash relationships. The father-daughter relationship is very cool. I always think it's very well done. I think David Harbour and Millie Bobby Brown are fantastic working together, and you get a lot more of those two in those two in these first 4 episodes, uh, as well as some other dynamics. You get the triangle back again with Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy. And you get more of Joyce and Will, which I really liked. Just kind of touching upon the different duos, but I honestly, as we'll get to, and we'll get to even more in the spoiler review, it, Will is a huge part of this first 4 episodes. Probably the biggest he's been. I mean, really, him and Mike. My biggest problem with this show is I always felt like Mike was never like they wanted to jam in season 4. There was a particular scene where they're really pushing out there that Mike is the heart of the show, and that's just not true for what we've seen.
Don't stop. Okay, you're the heart. Okay, remember that. You're the heart.
If you want to say heart of the show, you're either going to say Eleven or Dustin. To me, to say Mike is the heart of the show is a ridiculous take that just has not been written that way. But I do think Mike is presented in a way a lot better in these first 4 episodes. Will is more important than he's ever been, which is really cool to see. There's some Will stuff that I enjoy. There's some Will stuff that I don't enjoy as much. But the stuff I don't enjoy is more not on him, but surrounding him. Yeah, and I'm not really going to break this down episode by episode, 'cause I just don't think this show is a continuous thing. This is not like you're watching a sitcom where you're going to break down this episode and break down that episode, because they're each going to be so different. Each episode is just a continuation. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's an episode or two that are better than the other ones, just because what's happening with them. Like the 4th episode, the weird thing is the 4th episode has some of the best stuff and some of the worst stuff in one episode, which is kind of infuriating. I would say the first episode might be the best if we're really coming down to it, just because how we're getting back into this world, the stuff at the end of the first episode. And then to me, 2 and 3 at times are kind of the fillers. Yeah, I mean, maybe not the word fillers, probably not how I want to use it, but there's not like stuff happens for sure, but they're not as memorable as maybe as the first episode or in the 4th. Even though I will say in season 2 or episode 2 and 3, I think is where there's a character called Mr. What's It that is explored through 2 and 3, and eventually the twist for that's not as smart or inventive as I think they were trying to push for. It just seemed like it was very rushed, but with it being the last season, I tend to find a lot of last seasons that tend to be rushed because you're trying to jam so much in. And I'll say, if I was like some of the bigger positives, and I said I wasn't going to get into positives, but I did want to point out the first 4 episodes are not as long as I thought they were going to be, which is fine. I mean, I think the first one's maybe an hour and 20. Second episode's like 57 minutes, and the third one's like a little over an hour, and then the fourth one I think is like an hour and 20 or something like that. They're not quite as long as I thought. Granted, I don't know. I didn't look up or what each episode is going to be, or if they even divulge that information. But I did hear that they're going to be longer, and so far I think they're very easy to get through. And I think overall, if you love Stranger Things, these first 4 episodes will give you what you want. And I think it's just Stranger Things in general. I think it's like that for every season for me personally. There was some great stuff that you can really wrap your arms around, especially the characters that you love. I mean, there was like Dustin, for example. I always like how they change characters. Like the characters, they experience something. This is what you should do. They experience something and they become vastly different, or they have to change based on the stuff that happened to them. We know Eddie Munson died in season 4, and then you get Dustin, who is not the same Dustin. He's not having exactly the same fun, a bit darker, just having a harder time with things, and that's like influenced his relationship with Steve. And there's a lot of stuff that I like with that, and like continuations from the impact of season 4. A lot of the stuff that you see in this makes season 4 more impactful, because some of the stuff that happened in season 4, it really made you like, okay, I know other than Eddie Munson, nobody super significant died in season 4, but you still have significance with other stuff like Max, who's becoming a significant character in season 5. I'm not going to go dive into that into the spoiler review, but Max is, there's some super cool stuff with Max in this, and a lot of that comes from the aftermath of season 4. And I like how hardened some of these characters are from the aftermath of season 4, because season 4 was a lot of crazy stuff happened from that, and that should be the case. I just kind of wanted to get this out here and give my overall thoughts. I think there's a lot to like. There's some stuff I don't like. Once we get to the spoiler review, hopefully sometime later this week, there's some stuff I don't like as far as the episode 4 goes. Some of the decision making towards the end of that episode that I definitely want to dive into, that I just was like, I don't believe the character action in this moment. But there's also some stuff in season 4 I'm like, ooh, that's awesome. But it's tough because I feel like there is a lot to like, but there's some messy stuff along the way. And I think that's just a final season. Like, it's hard to get over that, but it's also like only getting these first 4 episodes, it's hard to say. Maybe the stuff they're doing now, looking back, looking back and you're like, oh, okay, that doesn't bother me quite as much. But it's hard to tell with just 4 episodes. But I'll say the way season 4 ends does have me super excited. Annoyed with one major thing, but super excited. And that's what I got for Stranger Things. Kind of a non-spoiler overview. Kind of just wanted to talk about Stranger Things, honestly. But we are going to do a spoiler review with 2 of my friends. They're big Stranger Things fans. They were watching it. They've been watching it longer than I have. So I'm super excited to see how that goes. And yeah, guys, that was a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see you in the spoiler review. And we got more reviews coming up. I think Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be my next movie review, I believe. Get back to doing that again. But yeah, as always, guys. Make sure like, comment, and subscribe. How did you think of the first 4 episodes? Did you really enjoy them? Did you have issues with them? Let me know. And as always, guys, I'll see you next time.